Welcome to Montreal on TelcoBridges headquarters, and with us today is Luc Morissette. He's the Director of Customer Service and Support, and thanks Luc for spending some time with us today.
Thank you, Adam.
So today we're going to cover bare metal installations. So we're going to talk and go through a demonstration of a bare metal installation, but before we get into that, let's talk about why. Why would someone want to do a bare metal installation versus virtualize?
Yeah, exactly. So a dedicated server for SBC session. With this you can reach very high performance, like for example 60,000 sessions of SIP and RTP, right, in the same server without any worries, right? You can also have smaller versions of that, but they are dedicated for SBC traffic, right? So it's very specific usage of that.
Okay, so the very high end of the market, and also maybe small appliances that might go in remote locations would be a good fit for it. Okay, so what does someone need to do? What do they need to get started? So there's a few things that they need to have. Something about the server and some other tools. Yeah.
So you need a server. There's, again, like we said, different types of and sizes of servers that you would require. For 60,000 sessions, specific type of server. For smaller systems, sometimes it's less requirements. One thing you have to be careful is at least one Ethernet interface needs to be very specialized for SBC functionality.
Okay.
And this is described on our wiki site, right? Okay. In docs.telcobridges.com, you have explanations of each of the size of the servers that you will need. Okay. In addition to this, you need the ISO image that you can download from my FreeSBC website.
Right. And let's see, what memory stick and maybe you're gonna need a server screen and some keyboard and other things like that, right? Yeah,
there's different ways to install. Simple way is with a keyboard and a screen, and you can install this ISO image on a USB stick, or it can be a DVD.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we're going to do a demonstration of that up in your lab. So it's a little bit noisy up there, but we'll head up there and we'll pick up there. Sound good?
Very good.
All right, let's go. All right, so here we are in Luc's lab. Thanks for spending some time with us up here. Sorry about it's kind of noisy. People might have a little trouble hearing, but we'll speak up. So tell us what you got here. This is a server we're going to be installing the software on. So give us a little background. What is this?
That's right. This is a bare metal server. It's a Dell PowerEdge R710 type server. It has some disk, some CPU cores. I think it's 12 CPU cores and 72 gigabyte of memory. It has, standard software for running this SBC. And then we have here another one which I use for VMware, right? So it's the same type of server I can use for both.
Very good. Okay, so we're going to start the installation. We'll go around the back, and you've got a few steps you're going to go through there, right?
That's right.
Okay, let's do that.
All right, so here is the back of the server. So what we have here is a dual power supply. I have only one connected, but I can connect the other one. There are various Ethernet connections you can do to the network, right? So here I have 3 Ethernet connections, one for the management of the Dell server, one for the SBC functionality, and there is also one here for the management of the SBC, okay? The other thing I have connected here is the monitor and keyboard I have here, just for entering the first few commands of the server. So first thing we will do is have our SBC ISO image on the USB stick, and I just put it in one of these free USB slots, and I need to power on the server. Okay, so now we are in the system setup. So what I need to do is go to the boot settings, right? So I go to the boot settings here. Choose the boot sequence. Okay. Here you can choose, for example, if you have installed the ISO image on a DVD drive, then optical drive would be the first one. Here I have no optical drive installed here. My NIC card is not connected to a remote server. Floppy CD, so the next one will be hard drive. That's the one that's going to be used. Okay. So I can go here in our drive sequence, And here it says 2 choices. For me, I want to use my USB key. That's where I installed it on the server. Alright, so I just put my USB key first here before anything else. And then escape to exit, save changes, and it will restart. We have to wait a few minutes again. Maybe a little bit slow, but you know, you never reboot those servers. These are meant to be started and never stopped. So, you know, waiting for a boot time, maybe not so bad. Okay, so now we're at the initial page of the ISO image, right? So what the system has done is read from the USB stick, and it gives us this menu, right? So we have only a few options. Install the software, which will wipe out the disk that you have, so you need to make sure that there's nothing important on those disks. You can also test the media before, if you want to do that, or you have some troubleshooting tools for understanding if ever the image doesn't install correctly. So what we'll do here is we will do the first option, reformat disk, and install the software. So I just press enter. Okay, here it asks us, there's multiple disks in that server, so it asks us on which server I want to install the software. So here I will use SDA, which is the first disk drive I have there, which is a larger one. Press enter to continue installation. So now it will finish up to install all the software on the server. Okay. So installation is complete. It has installed all the software on the hard disk of the system, and then it's rebooting the server to run on this new software version, which is the FreeSBC now. When it has started rebooting, a good idea is to remove the USB key. Otherwise, you have to go in the setup again and say, I don't want to boot on the USB key. So what I will do now is just pull out this key so that it doesn't boot up anymore on this key. And then we need to wait for the boot up of the FreeSBC software. Okay, so now it has booted up our FreeSBC, and we are at the console. So the only thing I'm missing now is I need to know how to reach it from the management interface of the SBC. So I need to log in to the FreeSBC, and the password is, the login is root, the password is also root. Okay. To know the IP, I can do the command IP A. We don't see it, but it's IP space A. Okay. So here you see the various interfaces I have there, but the one I want to get is this one. So this will be my IP to reach the management of the server. Okay, you can verify with the MAC address here which interface is the right one, and you can see the MAC address of each of the interfaces to be able to figure out which one is the right one. Okay, so here we're done. So we just have to connect from outside with a browser to be able to configure this SBC.
All right, so Luc, we just finished up with the install up in the server room in your lab.
Right. Yep.
So now we've moved over to a web browser, and the installation continues from here, right?
Exactly, and this is the IP we saw in our installation, right? And the only thing you need to add here is the column 12358. This allows us to access the web interface for the initial configuration of the bare metal server.
Got it.
All right, so I get on this page here, and we see here host name, unnamed host, model, TSBC. So we just have to click on continue here to start the installation. Accept the end user license agreement. You need to enter your activation key. This is what you got when you downloaded the ISO image. All right, so I will just add it here. And you need to set a host name. This will be recognizable in your network. So here I will use bare metal A5. You need to update the SSH password. As you saw before, it was the default password was root, and then here we want to change it to something more, let's say,
more complex.
Yeah, exactly. So I created one which is more complex, and I will use the same one for my web interface. Okay. So 4 times the same password here. Here we install just one bare metal server, so I will be as a standalone unit. However, you can install 2 of those bare metal server to be in a 1+1 configuration.
Okay.
Here you can install an external transcoding server for vocoding transfer, and here I will say no. Here we get to the configuration of the management interfaces. Here you see I have 5 interfaces. You can see the MAC address of these each of these interfaces, and that's what we saw when we did the IPA command on the SSH console.
And this is somewhat dependent on the actual server use and the network cards, right?
Yeah, then this is the network card physical address. So you can see it here, right? Here you see some of them. This is a quad card, so you see the MAC address are very similar. This one is an additional card I have added, and actually only this one supports SBC functionality. So here I can choose LAN 1 for this interface, and it will give a name by default of VOIP 0. The other ones, they cannot be used for LAN 1 or SBC functionality, okay? So, and here actually I won't really need use them, except I just need to name them, okay? So I will go ahead and name them management 0, 1, 2, and 3, okay? So then it asks me if I accept this configuration, and just continue here. And here we need to wait a few seconds to configure those interfaces that we have put, and give us access to the SBC with the new password we have set, the new host name, and then be ready to configure. So we just have to wait like a few seconds.
Got it. So maybe just a quick recap of what's happened. So far we've gone up to the server room. We've done the actual bare metal installation, installed the software. We found out the IP address of one of the main network cards, and we came down and used a web browser to open up that interface and continue down with it.
That's right. That's right.
And this step, it's building its internal databases.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, the database has very little information right now, and this is what we'll configure when we connect to the system, right? We will configure this this database, so it will have all the configuration that we require. So here to access the web interface now is the username is root, and the password is the one we have set just before. Okay, so now we have access to this web interface. Starting from here, it will be exactly the same, whatever type of SBC you have installed, whether it is virtual or bare metal. Then the thing we have to do here is, as you can see, there's missing a license. You see here, the license is not activated yet, so you have to go here. Right, this is the product key we have entered. This is the host name we have, and then you need to go here, get or renew license.
And this is going off to the TelcoBridges license server.
Yeah, that's right. So it's preparing a file for you. This file is now down here at the bottom. So we just need to load it up into the system.
So this does mean that the machine needs to be on a LAN that has access to the internet.
Yeah, if you do not have access to the LAN, you need to go here, download history, send that to us, and we will create this license for you, and you can install it offline.
Mm-hmm.
So this license is now installed. So we can go back here in the status page. You see here, it is still red. And it says here, reboot required host list. We have to go here on the host itself and then reboot this server, okay? And again, this will take a few minutes to reboot it, and then you will be ready to configure the system.
Okay, all right.
So back to my web interface here, I need to have my root password again. You see here, everything is ready, and in status, we can see that SBC part is green. Host interface, I think, yeah, the only reason why it's red is because I have some interfaces here which are not connected, but my main management interface is connected. That's the one we're using for accessing the SBC, and this voice over IP interface will be used for our SBC traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So we're done.
Ah, very good. Okay. All right. So at this point, this would be where you would transition into a more advanced configuration, which we're going to cover in a separate session.
That's right.
All right. Excellent. Well, thanks for your help. And let's wrap it up with a couple of slides.
All right.
Let's wrap things up with a quick review of what was covered in this session. Prior to this session, Luc prepared a bootable USB memory stick, starting at FreeSBC.com and selecting Download FreeSBC Now. He completed the registration, selecting the bare metal for the platform. And once downloaded, used Rufus or another similar tool to create a bootable USB stick. Using a keyboard and screen,
we enabled the booting off of the USB stick, and as Luc noted, this will vary depending on your server and the BIOS. From there, Luc booted the server off the USB stick that contained the FreeSBC installer. The installer will double check to ensure you want to reformat the hard drive and begin the installation of FreeSBC. Once the installer is complete, he removed the USB stick and rebooted to start the FreeSBC software. After the reboot is complete, log in to set or retrieve the management IP address, and you'll need this to access the web portal and complete the initial configuration. At that point, you'll have a fully functional session border controller appliance ready for final configuration and installation in the network. Thanks for listening along. We hope you found the material useful. There's much more on FreeSBC Video Library, and you can access those materials from freesbc.com. Well, thanks for listening. Have a great day.